Hi, I'm Millie. I am from Manchester, Iowa, and about 2 years ago I sold my car so I could buy a Longarm quilting machine because I really wanted to finish all of my own quilts rather than doing the piecing and then turning the rest of the creative process over to somebody else. So that's how I got into this.
What inspires your creativity both in quilting and in life in general?
Oh gosh, what doesn't inspire my creativity? Just about anything I'm doing. If I'm working in the garden, the shapes of leaves or the shapes and colors of vegetables or anything that I see in nature really inspires the work. I love to keep my hands busy and I love making things with my hands. And to me, a quilt is kind of like time made visible. I can look at a quilt and it'll take me back to the time and what I was doing and what I was thinking when I made it. So it's just a way to preserve time and tell stories.
I love that. So you are a very creative person. How do you balance the technical side of quilting with the storytelling and artistic aspects?
I tend to be somebody who, when I get started on something, I want to work on it till it's done. And what I've learned with the Longarm quilting is I need to make myself stop after an hour or two and just give myself a break because then the creativity keeps coming. Otherwise, I get so zoned into filling a space that I lose sight of the way I'm trying to use the thread and the pattern to tell a story. Because to me, thread, fabric, words, pictures, it's all kind of the same thing. It's all about storytelling. So forcing it by sticking with it too long interrupts creativity. Just giving my brain a break helps keep the creative juices flowing.
Are there any memories or moments from your quilting journey that stand out as especially meaningful to you?
Oh, too many to talk about. I have one quilt that took me 30 years to make from start to finish. It's hand quilted and it's pieced with thousands of little hexagons. And to that one, I see my children growing up, pieces of the clothing I made them, the scraps for making clothes are in that. Quilting has been very instrumental in healing for me in many things. Quilting and making things kind of kept me on track after I left a domestic violence situation, and just to get my life back on a creative forward-thinking journey where I was mapping out where I was going, quilting was a huge part of that. So it kind of saves my life.
And how did you first discover quilting and kind of hear about it?
I started quilting because my mom was a home ec teacher, and so from the time I was tall enough to reach the foot pedal of the sewing machine, she had me making clothing and taught me all of the tricks and things to exceptional garment making. So I was making my clothes, I made clothes for my children, I made a lot of clothes, but I could never bear to throw the scraps away because when you cut out clothes, you have lots of cutaway things that, from armholes and from necklines and things that they're not big enough for other garments, so you throw them away, and I just couldn't do that. And then one day it was like magic. It was in the late 1980s, and I was watching a quilting show on public television, and it just all of a sudden made sense that this is what I can do with my scraps, which is why I cut out thousands of hexagons and thought I could hand piece a grandmother's flower garden quilt. That wasn't where you should start. Don't ever start with a grandmother's flower garden.
Is there any other advice you'd give to someone who's just starting off with their quilting journey?
Privilege design and creativity over perfection. Technical perfection is not what makes a quilt tell a great story, and it's not what makes it beautiful or warm or loved and cherished. Really, it's the creative energy and the design and the color, the things you put in it that make it yours over a textbook perfect quilt. I had to get over a lot of perfectionistic tendencies. When you're making a garment, you want things to fit just right. When you're making a quilt, you want to have a lot of fun.
You taught 2 classes this week at Nolting, one on Harriet Power's Bible quilt and one on children's literature. How did those passions connect with your quilting journey?
I started quilting when I had young children, and children's picture books have always been something I absolutely love. So once I started quilting, I kind of discovered the niche of children's picture books that have something to do with quilts and quilting, whether the quilt is a theme or a motif in the book, or even sometimes a character, or maybe even just the illustrator used quilting ideas and how that influences the story. So I love the children's picture books. I love history because quilts, really, if you study quilts, it's a great way to learn what life was like for women through time. And a lot of women's stories aren't captured in history books or where you learn about the traditional stories from history. So it just opens your world, the window into another person's life. Books do that. Books are like opening a window and seeing into somebody else's life, to see another perspective, to see beyond your own experience and maybe develop some empathy for other people. The Harriet Powers Bible quilt is just one example of a quilt from history that really emphasizes what creativity and making can do for a woman in hard times, unbelievable things that she lived through, and how quilting helped preserve her story and give her something that was just her own and the extension of her own hands and creativity and heart. And I find that so inspiring. And so it's all stories and they all mix together and yeah, it's all the same thing.
And what do you love most about teaching others about quilting and the history that comes with that?
I was a teacher until I retired from teaching, but I guess I still am a teacher in some ways. But I was a teacher because I love to learn. And when I learn things, I get so excited. And when I get excited about something, I want to share it. So just learning the stories from history and how quilts fit into people's lives over time just helps you place yourself in time, and it helps you see kind of a continuity and ebb and a flow, and how we all look toward being creative as a way to express ourselves and just to really thrive in life. I don't think you can truly thrive in life without exercising creativity in whatever form works best for you.
Well, we have absolutely loved having you here this week. It has been so much fun to learn alongside you, to watch you up there. You can be so hilarious, but it's so interesting to hear you talk and to tell your own stories and tell the stories of others. And that's kind of what we say that all of the people that were here and watching you this week, you were able to help them discover the Nolting Effect.
All right.
What does the Nolting Effect mean to you personally?
Oh, the Nolting Effect to me is just empowerment. Like I said, I started longarm quilting because I wanted to have creative control from start to finish. And I know there are a lot of longarm quilters with a lot more talent or fully developed talent than I have at this point, but it's important to me to make my quilts from start to finish. So, it's that, and then sharing what I've learned and how I've grown, and other new quilters, new long armors, saying, hey, if you sew into a plastic template, break the thread, the machine makes terrible noises, the world doesn't end, you can fix it, and so just sharing the joy and the journey, because we're all on a journey, and it's really fun when you find people whose journeys overlap with yours.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me, Millie.
You are welcome. It's been a lot of fun to learn beside you, Melody. This has been fun.